Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another day of a daily grind. I'm your host, Today Still Gaming. On today's show, we're going to be talking about Hogwarts Legacy. Now, I have played for 93 hours on my first playthrough. Okay, 93 hours on my first playthrough, and I still haven't seen everything. At least, actually, I know I haven't seen everything in the world yet. There's like little things that happen in the world as far as, ghosts fighting in the hallways, knights fighting in the castle, different students doing certain things just in the castle. I've seen those things, but there's so many things I haven't seen that I happen to see in someone else's gameplay or in some YouTube video or whatnot. So there's a lot of stuff that happens in this game that you don't even know, and it's not like it's a dire must need to see, but it's still the case of not seeing it and experiencing it. Okay, we do these standalone topics 4 days a week. Usually, we've been playing Hogwarts Legacy nonstop for the last 2 weeks, right here on 30NSG. Live starting at 10 a.m. Eastern. So if you like this type of content, please make sure you share, like, subscribe. It helps the video and the channel out. Now, I give you a topic up front so you can just get the info that you want. And then if you want to stay for the rest of the conversation, you can stay with the live chat and the live stream. Now, we discuss a topic with live chat each and every single day. So let's get started. Now, I have thrown myself into this game and have enjoyed. I have enjoyed every single minute of it. I haven't enjoyed a game like this since Red Dead Redemption 2. Everything about this game is just top tier as a gamer, just in general. Okay, I'm going to go down a list of bullet points that I've made for this game and speak off the top of my head, right? So I have like a little topic that says like the story, and then I'm going to tell you about the story and whatnot. So let's get started. Okay, so let's talk about the story, right? The story itself. And there will not be any spoilers, by the way. I'm not going to ruin anything for you. We're just talking generic. I'm giving you my thoughts and overall of what I thought about the game, okay? So the story, the voice acting is just like the films. Now, I know a lot of people are talking about how the voice acting seems a little off, or the biggest criticism is the pitch of the voices is kind of weird. But besides that, just the way they're giving the dialogue, the way they're interacting with each other, I thought was phenomenal. I thought it was good. I think it's exactly like the films. And if you don't know what I mean by that, when you hear the kids talk to each other, when you hear your character talk to one of your classmates talking to somebody else, or you're just wandering the halls and hearing people talk, the way they deliver the lines is almost exactly go watch the original Harry Potter. Okay, look at how Hermione's talking to other classmates. It's exactly the way they talk, right? The character animations in this game are very well. Like, I see people look at this and go, "Oh, it looks off. It looks." I don't know what you're staring at, but the animations in this are very good. Now, others, some rather more than others, right? Like Fig. I thought Fig's face was fantastic. There's also a vendor inside one of in Hogsmeade. I forget her name. She almost looks like the dark arts teacher. Not the dark arts teacher. Yeah, actually, I think she is the dark arts teacher. She looks like super detailed on the way her skin looks and everything else. The cutscenes are done very well. I loved Professor Weasley and Fig, right? They made a big thing towards Black, but he wasn't really much included in the story throughout the whole thing, but he is there, right? So many good animations and cutscenes to happen while you're playing through the game. I thought it was a very well done overall for the cutscenes. Now, the story itself wasn't like next level type of stuff, right? But it also was above average. It was an above average story. Obviously, some of the stuff was you could tell what was going to happen right away, and other things you're just kind of like, oh, that's cool, right? So I do like it. Now, I haven't played through all the stories yet, so I know there's different things that happen with different houses. I played with Hufflepuff for my first playthrough, so I experienced what I experienced. You guys might experience on your own. Now, one of the shining things of this, and I have a video about the combat, right? Now, the combat itself, I was worried about the combat, right? I have a video. If the combat's like this, and this is before we knew anything, this is like 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago when I made those videos. before we knew anything, before even the first playthrough, and then they showed us the playthrough of the combat. The combat on the surface, people will look at this and first say it's clunky and it's boring. But the more you play it, the better it feels, right? The more spells you unlock, the better it feels. The more you level up, the better it feels. So there are so many different combos and little bits of detail, and detail is the thing. Like that, I want to put that in like bold lettering for the Avalanche Studios and Portkey of what they've done with this game. Detail, the little bits of detail, and those of you that are Harry Potter fans are going to see a lot more detail than what I see, but I'm looking at it as a gamer and look at the attention to detail of what they've done. You're going to see more detail because you know the backstory of the world of Hogwarts or whatnot, right? But the combo, a little bits of detail when you're fighting that keeps you engaging, fresh, and fun, okay? Each enemy has like a little tell, okay? Not as much as like if you're playing like a game like Monster Hunter or anything like that, but they have a little tell, right? When they're about to wind up and do stuff like that, right? And they all have these certain spells at certain times, right? And your spells, based on what spell you're doing, on what person you're doing it to, and what combination you do it, right, does more damage than normal. And it's phenomenal, okay? Every time you play the combat, it makes you try different spells, right? They have the, the dueling fates, okay, where it pops up and says, slice this in half, try this, do this, right? And to do those things, and that goes over to your field guide and whatnot to unlock certain things. But it makes you try different spells on them, right? It also makes it feel really good when you do certain things with that, right? If you read a review, and this is not my opinion, okay? I'm stating a fact here, okay? If someone says the combat is boring or dull, that means that's the way they played, okay? Because this is anything but dull and boring. There's so many different ways you can play the game as far as combat. Now, if you just want to spam the right trigger button, if you just want to use the same combinations over and over with the 3 spells that you have, then by all means, be boring. But this game incentivizes you to try the different spells out and mix up some of the spells. Like there's a spell, man, that if you freeze somebody and then slice them, it destroys them. If you turn someone into a barrel and then freeze somebody, and then you have the talent that does the curse on other people and it spreads as it goes, you could destroy a whole platoon of guys within seconds, and it's absolutely amazing. And I feel like they've done a really, really good job with the combat in this game. So anyone that says it's boring and dull, that's the way they play a game, okay? Obviously, this is not like a Dark Souls type of game or anything like that, but the combat is so smooth, and the only thing that's clunky about it is when you first start playing and learning how to, once you unlock the second tier, the third tier type of thing, swapping between the 4 spells, the 4 different sections that you have. Now, the characters. Each of the classmates are done, I think, very well as far as capturing the high school student. Okay. Now, I'm a 44-year-old man. I haven't been in high school in quite a bit of years. I do have an 8-year-old, and I do have nieces and nephews and stuff like that that are in high school. And I understand how they act and how they talk. And obviously, this is a fictitious world, but I think they've done a phenomenal job of the way they interact. If you roam the halls of Hogwarts and just listen to the way the characters are talking or the stupid things that they're doing, or if a letter gets delivered and starts yelling at their student, I think they've captured not only high school in general, but I think they've captured the fictitious world of Hogwarts High School inside this, this school, right? I do think they could have been more interactions with your classmates, but they gave us what was great, and I wish there was more, but that's why. I think they've done such a good job at what they gave us. I wish there was more of it inside the game, right? Now, we do know that they cut a companion from Ravenclaw that could have went on missions and stuff with you. I thought the ones with Sebastian, Nat, and Poppy were good. I thought they were I didn't think they were good. I think they're great. I think they're just fun little missions that you go on, and the way it bounces back and forth, going from one mission and the connection. Now, does it go above and beyond like a Mass Effect relationship thing? And I'm not even talking about like the sexual relationship. I'm just talking about going on your missions in Mass Effect and learning your companions and whatnot. No, it doesn't go as deep as that. Can it? I think it could, but I think this is like the stepping stone for this if they make a Hogwarts 2 or a sequel down the line, or even DLC that they throw into it, right? So hopefully with the Ravenclaw missing, that somewhere down the line they give us some like companion DLC that would be more what we're asking for, some more DLC. Or just not more DLC, actual DLC down the line. The shining thing for me in this game is the exploration. 93 hours into this game, and I still don't think I've seen everything in this game, and I've done everything in this game. Okay. The spacing. Now, I know this doesn't go out and about to a lot of people. They don't think about this, and which is good. Okay, most people just play a game and they're like, "Oh, this is an open world game. It's fantastic." But there's a difference between an open world game that does it right and an open world game that does it wrong. Okay, a game that's open world that does it very well is Red Dead Redemption. Red Dead Redemption's setting in the Western, okay, is a little bit more slow, and that's the way it is. And in Red Dead Redemption, the spacing between missions or something you see, or to get sidetracked, or you see like deer or squirrels or hawks, is about 30 seconds, right? I would believe it's about 30 seconds, 40 seconds. In this game, based on how you're traveling, okay, if you're walking from one point to the next, it can take anywhere between, I would say, 15 seconds to 30 seconds. If you're on a broomstick, it could take anywhere between like 5 seconds to 30 seconds. If you're on a raven or a hippogriff, whatever. But the amount of stuff to do in this game, the spacing in the world is fantastic. It's very intentional. The amount of things to do or see is just fantastic. Okay, like I said, it's intentional of what they want you to see or not see. And what I mean by that is, in an open area, there's open areas, there's dense areas, and the exploration just feels good. So if I'm walking down a grassy knoll, okay, and there's nothing there, but in the distance I see like a windmill, and I have that destination from where I came from to where I'm going, I'm like, that's the point of interest I want to go to. And then as you go there, there's spiders to fight, or there's wolves to fight, or there's a bandit camp to fight, or there's a dungeon to fight, or there's a Merlin puzzle, or there's always something to sidetrack you or to have you do something. You're constantly getting sidetracked, which is a good thing. Okay? The world feels alive, okay? Okay? The world feels alive. Like, as you're going through... we had this complaint a little bit when we saw Gotham Knights. We looked at Gotham Knights and we're like, is the city going to feel alive? It does feel alive in Gotham, but it feels a hell of a lot more alive in Hogwarts Legacy. When you're in Hogwarts, the day-night cycles where the kids disappear and they go back to their common rooms, and then there's also during the day where they're a little attention to detail that I think they miss, which it doesn't matter, and this is like a nitpick type of thing, but the common rooms, right? At night, when you go into the rooms and you go into where your bedroom is, there's nobody there, right? They're not sleeping in their beds. They're not out in the common room hanging out late. There's some kids roaming the halls late at night sometimes, but there's nobody in your room, and yet there's nobody out there. So you're like, well, where did everybody go type of thing? Did they go back home? Are they visiting their family? It's a small nitpick, but it's like the characters, I think, would have made it feel more alive if the people in your house were sleeping in the beds of the common rooms that you were in, right? And this also goes in with the thing I'll say later about the interaction, where you could interact a little bit more. The exploration, though, is just really well, and I think this is my 2 cents. Take it how you want as far as me playing 93 hours. I think the way you should play the game is, well, play it how you want, but I think the way it's structured is this is not a main story, do the main story all the way through and finish the game. If you really want to take this game in and the way that I believe it's supposed to be played, and I think the way they developed it, is that you do a main story, as you're doing the main story, all of a sudden, then the side quests pop up, and then you want to do the side quest. And as you do the side quest, it takes you to certain areas of the land. When you go to that certain area of the land, you're going to have all these other things. You're either going to see a den, you're going to see a boss camp, you're going to see a Merlin thing, you're going to see some chests along the way. And what I'm saying here is, so do a main quest, do the side quest, go to that location to do the quest, and once you're done or while you're doing the quest, clean up everything in that area. This will make it a whole lot easier for you later on. See, I just wanted to explore, and then I trying to go back and backtrack myself later. I didn't know where things were or missed or whatever. Just kind of clean it up as you go, and it'll just run smoothly through for you. Okay, so the amount of things to do in this game, the amount of things, I'm going to list a couple things off, and I might miss a couple, right? From the different types of chests to collect, right? There's the chests that you find to unlock stuff for your room's requirement. There's chests to find that you find, undescripted gear that you can uncode later in your rooms of requirement. You can find gear just in the chest to actually put on your character right away. There's coins to collect. There's animals to collect. There's field guides to collect. There's treasure caves to go figure out some puzzles. There's plants to resources out there. There's animals, like I said, to collect. There's brooms to go buy at the vendors and to collect. There's the field guide pages. There's the secret room that you find without the world. Like, all of a sudden you'll be walking and all of a sudden you see like a bush and you're like, oh, I can burn that, and then all of a sudden it opens up and there's like a dungeon there type of thing. I think if you play with the mini map off, you're gonna have a much better experience. Maybe the second playthrough kind of do it without, but if you play the first playthrough with no mini map on, that's gonna be immersive, man. Okay, the amount of puzzles there are in this game. The puzzles, this feels really good, right? So I did a lot of treasure. Let me bring up, and this is not going to spoil anything. I'm going to bring up some gameplay footage of me playing, and this is me just going around completing treasure caves. Okay, this right here is absolute, like, phenomenal, right? It's the same thing. Someone's going to be like, well, this is very repetitive. It's boring. They change almost on the whim, okay? Every cave you go into has a different puzzle. If it's a puzzle of playing chess, figuring out the doors, pulling out drawers, going through doorways, figuring out certain things, stacking things, finding keys, right? There's at least 30, 40 different types of puzzles just in the treasure caves, right? Just in the treasure caves, there's like 40 different puzzles, right? At least. Okay. It's absolute fantastic. I loved every single thing about it. Okay. The dueling fate challenges that happen. So as you can see in this footage right now, once you fight or fighting someone, it says hit 2 enemies simultaneously while you're invisible, right? And you can do that. And it's telling you to do this to try different things out, and also for your total field guide of what you're doing. There's landing pads to find. There's Merlin puzzles to find. The Merlin puzzles, there's an additional like 10 to 12 different types of Merlin puzzles. And if they are the same type of Merlin puzzles, they're not exactly the same. So there's one where there's like these hedgestone type of rocks that you have to climb on. Sometimes there's 4, sometimes there's 6, sometimes they're big, sometimes they're small, sometimes they're hidden, right? There's so many different puzzles in this game. My mind, and they're not difficult puzzles, okay? We had one really with like one puzzle to find something in the world, and that was literally, here, hold on one second. And that was literally, I think one of the puzzles was the chess, and we couldn't figure it out. And I tried every spell in the world except one, and I won't ruin it for you which one that is, okay? But that's a fantastic one as well. Another thing that people will talk about is the enemy types, okay? They're like, oh, well, the enemy types are the exact same. It's boring and monotonous, right? There are 67 enemy types. I know because I've collected them all. I found every single one. I fought every single one. I've played them multiple times, fought them in different ways, okay? And do they look the same? I guess, right? Perhaps they do, but they all do different things. They all act differently. They all have their different tells. They all have their different things. If you're burning through this game and you feel like it's too easy, then put up the difficulty. Make it harder on yourself if you want a challenge. If not, play it how you want. You can do it story mode, normal mode, or I'm sorry, is it story mode, easy mode, normal mode, and hard mode, and you can change it how you want. See fit. If it's too much of a difficult, it's too easy for you. Maybe you're playing on the hardest difficulty and you still think it's hard. Well, it's not a Dark Souls game. Right? So, another aspect, which could be a complete standalone game, is the Room of Requirements. Okay, the Room of Requirements, there's so much to do in this Room of Requirements that it feels like a standalone game by itself. Like, they could sell this as a mobile game on its own, just going around collecting things and then making your Room of Requirements look pretty. Okay, I personally didn't use this as much in this particular playthrough. I did the bare minimum to do what I had to do to progress the field guide to get 100%. Okay. I didn't dive into it. I'm going to play more of the Room of Requirement on my next playthrough because I think I'm going to do a potion build more than I did with this one. Okay. Lots of stuff though. Okay. Like I said, I didn't use it this playthrough, but making potions because I found a lot of stuff in the world. Because I did all the exploration, went into all the caves, I found the potions I needed. I made a lot of money off the things I needed, so I just bought it at the vendors. So I didn't really have to use the Room of Requirements, but it's really cool when you start doing this stuff like that. You can breed animals, sell the extra animals, make the money that you have to make, and whatnot. Okay. So the Room of Requirements is just a complete. The decorations alone, you could spend tens of hours inside there. The biggest thing in this game, which is Hogwarts itself. Okay, Hogwarts itself. I don't even know if I'm running around. Let me bring up a video that I did where I'm running around Hogwarts. It's early on, so let me pick like I don't know. We'll pick like episode 5. We're literally just running around Hogwarts. Oh, that's not it. Let me go back. We'll go early on. People are probably already past. We'll go to episode like 3. Running around Hogwarts itself is gigantic. Okay, this alone. Okay, I'm in the Room of Requirements right now, but running around Hogwarts is such a good, and again, I'm not even a Harry Potter fan. So you Harry Potter fans out there must be like geeking out so hardcore of what it is. Hold on, doing a mission. I don't want to do the mission. I want to do just run around. I don't want to ruin anything for anybody. But there's so much to find. It's so detailed, and there's so many hidden rooms and secret doors and escape hatches and things to find and interact with. They've done such a phenomenal job, but it's a game itself by just finding the field guides in Hogwarts or finding the different treasure chests inside here. Hogwarts is such a good thing. Like I said, it's just like the Room of Requirements. It could be a standalone game just exploring the castle. Okay, the attention to detail is so good in this game. They've done so good from the garments that you wear to the way the kids act in the school, the way the professors talk, the way the school looks, the grounds, just everything. The attention to detail, the puzzles in this game. When you're on main missions and you go to your when you go to your tiers, your actual main story, there's puzzles that you do with inside the trials. Those puzzles are fantastic. Again, not so hard enough, but not too hard, not too difficult. It's a fantastic time, right? The design of this game, they've done such a good job with the design of this game from top to bottom, as you can tell, right? And I say this a lot about game developers. You can tell when someone's passionate about something, right? It doesn't matter if it's a YouTube content creator or if it's a person painting a picture, if it's a person making a piece of art or a film or television show. You could tell when the people respect the lore, right? This game could have bombed easily. because it would have been so scrutinized because not because of the what's happening in the fairy tale world. What I'm talking about is the lore of Harry Potter, the IP of Harry Potter. If they did something, the fans, the community would have been like, "Oh, that's not how it is." Okay, but they've done such a good job of making this from the books, from the films, the Easter eggs that they have in this game. They've really nailed it, in my opinion. As an outsider looking in, just as the films, look at the films going, wait, I remember that place. Oh, I remember this place. Oh, this is cool that they've done this. So I would like to know what you guys think as far as if you're playing this game as a Harry Potter fan and you're like a Harry Potter head where you know the books inside and out, you know the movies inside and out, you know the backstories, like how good compared to what you think it should have been. Okay. Now, everything is not is there are bugs and glitches for certain people. I only experienced 2 bugs the entire time I went in, and I had 2 crashes. So one of the bugs I had, I fell through the map. It was like hour 1, I fell through the map, and then I recreated it and did it on purpose and fell through the map, and that just means they didn't close off something in the design process. Okay, not a big deal. I personally never came across anything game-breaking where I couldn't do anything. Okay, there is one thing that one of the treasure rooms, I unlocked a chest to get a key and move that key, and then I went to go do something else, and when I came back, that key was back into the cage, and the lock wasn't there, and I couldn't get it out. So that's a bug and glitch, but it's not a big deal because I don't need that to like 100% complete the game, right? I didn't come across anything game-breaking now or frame. The update that just went through yesterday or 2 days ago, I started noticing my Xbox Series X starting to get more stuttery, which it was supposed to fix. I didn't have any stuttering beforehand. I didn't have any really bad pop-ins or anything like that. I noticed something worse after they did the update, but I didn't really have anything to problems. Now, you might be on PC. I hear stories of people where it crashed, the open door would crash the system. I crashed once, and that was after a 16-hour playthrough. My Xbox decided to kick me back out to the dashboard and was like, I'm done with this, right? And I think it was just kind of overheated at that time. Okay, so coming to an end here, I want to give you my wish list of things that when I noticed in my 93 hours of playtime going through my first playthrough, what they could change or add to the game. Now, this is not I'm asking for it to be a live service game or anything like that. This is giving criticism, like if I looked at a painting and said, oh, the brush strokes, and I would have done this instead of that type of thing. Okay. They need to sell or select all loot to sell or delete. Okay. Going to the vendors and clicking on every single piece of item, okay, to sell the stuff. I'll even take right trigger, just click on all the stuff that you don't want to put like a little mark on it, and then just hit sell, and it would sell it all, right? I'll take that. Like, mark what you want, sold, sell it. That's all you got to do. Many other games done it before. They could do it easily in this game. I would also love to see more use of the common room. Now, I don't know how to kind of put this. Like, the room of requirement is to get the plants and stuff like that. Your storage on you, I think they could have done storage also inside your room of requirement. Or, I'm sorry, the common room. I feel like the common room itself could have been used more. Once I got into my house, I barely ever went back to my common room. I feel like the common room could have been like your home base type of thing. And then the room requirement is also a home base type of thing. And they could have had a chest in each of the things, and you kind of like share. Okay. Again, not necessary, but they could have done something along the lines of that, right? Put your gear in the chest, something along the lines of that. I wish there was more interaction with NPCs. Now, there's plenty of interaction with NPCs in this game, plenty of interaction with NPCs. But it's so good when there's interaction with the NPCs and going on quests with your classmates that I want more of that. And I did touch that in the very beginning. Like, they cut out Ravenclaw's companion. It would have been nice just to have that little extra, maybe hour worth of content that you went on these missions with Ravenclaw's companion and you had another character to talk to. there's like these little moments that you have that a lot of people won't care. Like when you go to the when you look at the stars and that one character is talking to you and you're interacting and he goes on this little quest with you. There could be more of that, more of it, because it was so nice and refreshing type of thing that I liked it to feel like that fantasy that you're in school and you're hanging out with your friends. That would have been interesting. And I would have loved to see when going into a dungeon or a mission. I know in the lore of the game it says you have to do it by yourself, but it would have been really cool because the quests that I did with Sebastian in this, or Nat, or Poppy when we're fighting people together, felt really, really good. And that's the biggest complaint that I have with this game, is that it feels so good when certain things are happening, and then you kind of lonely when you're by yourself. It just feels like you need a buddy, you need a companion with you, or have an option to be like, I want to take this person, I want to take that person, sort of like what Fallout did in their thing, right? Another thing I would love to see is they need to add something where when I pick up a quest, if I pick up another quest, it doesn't override the quest that I'm on. That was a little irritating in the very beginning. I was like, oh, am I doing something different? It overrides the quest that you're doing, and I didn't really like that decision. I think that you add the quest, you put it in your book, and then it keeps the quest that you're doing where it is, and then you go to your quest, and then you can unlock it, but it overrides whatever you're doing if you find another quest, right? So they could fix that a little bit, okay? Another thing that I think is an easy fix that they could do is locking the transmog. Every time I find a new piece of gear and I level up, okay, the way I played was if I'm level 15 and I find level 15 gear, I don't touch that gear because it's usually not as high power as what I'm using. And if it is, you throw it in, that's fine. But I wait till I level up, decrypt some of the stuff I found, and then put that gear on. And once I put that gear on, it changes my transmog, okay? They need to make the transmog locked into the actual spot and not the gear itself, if that makes sense, right? So if I click a pair of gloves, that the transmog is not on those gloves, it's on that spot of gloves. So that way, when I want to look the way I look, I keep the same outfit the entire time unless I change it. Another thing they can do is loadouts, okay? Loadouts for not as far as just cosmetics. Loadouts, like I have a set of gear that I want. I have the hat, the face, the glasses, the scarf, the jacket. I can make a loadout, and if I want to quickly change to that outfit, I can change to that outfit and make little loadouts that way. Another thing they can do for loadouts is the spells that you have, the 4 spells, and you have, once you unlock everything in your talent tree, you have four spells, right? You have 4 pages to switch to, which is right trigger, up on the D-pad, down, left, and right. I would love, because there was times that when you're doing your dual fates or you're coming across a puzzle, you have your fighting one. So let's say you had, 2 reds, a purple, and a yellow, and that's your main one. And then you have your room of requirement one where you're petting, feeding, capturing, whatever. Then you have the other room of requirement one where you're building, moving, deleting. They could have easily had loadouts that you could have made preset wise, and then you just fill that in. Okay, so it's a lot easier. Now, to their credit, it is really easy to swap between the ones that they did, and it looks like they kind of had a layout where you could do loadouts for it, but that would be a nice add-on, or in the future, in the next game, they could do something down the line. One of my big things I think they could do, and this is a wish list. This is definitely a wish list. If the game stays as is, I'm happy the way the game stays as is, because I enjoyed myself. But the way this game could go on is if they did a Grand Theft Auto online aspect type thing. Now, I'm not asking for a live service game. I'm more asking of co-op buddy coming in, people on your friends list, your direct server. You can go to their server. I can go to my server. More of like Division than Grand Theft Auto Online, because Grand Theft Auto Online, like your hub is the world. I'm asking for Hogwarts. Hogwarts itself to be like a tower in Destiny, like a Division's White House or Division Capitol building type of thing, where when you're there, you can see like 12 or 16 other people walking around randomly, or you can bring in just your friends list, right? Like your friends are walking around. And Why would you do this? I think they can keep this going, and the people that want to stay in the world or role play or whatever, they can have a co-op and do missions together. So, for instance, let's say you don't have a psycho friend like myself where I played for 93 hours and they might play 93 hours, but across the next 9 months. Okay, maybe they only have like 5 or 10 hours a week to play a video game. This is what they want to dive into. And all of a sudden, they're like, hey, check out my room of requirements. You go to the room of requirements like, hey, where'd you get this table from? Where'd you get this from? And that would have been nice. Hey, let's go on this mission and let's go get this one, right? Now, I would also like their loot system in this game for the table or the talents is all random. And I think they should have put them in an actual location for those type of things. Now, as far as random for the loot, I'm okay with the gowns and the different things that you find. But the traits, the talents, and also that type of stuff, that should have been like your room of requirement furniture. That should be in like a certain location. And then someone can help you go do those missions type of thing. Okay. Another thing I see with co-op, playing missions together, not only that, but also playing the games in Hogwarts. So let's just say that you can't go on missions together, but Hogwarts itself is that hub, is that White House, is that Destiny Tower. And then when you go off, you're off by your own. But while you're at Hogwarts, there's other students roaming around the building in a public space, and you can go play Summoner's Court. You can go play Wizard's Chess. You can go do the Hippogriff racing. You can do the broom racing. You can go play Goblet Stone. You can visit other people's rooms of requirement. You can go into town, NPCs in towns, do more quests or whatever. You could do the dueling with each other, just a friendly duel type of thing, right? These are things that I think they could have done in the game to make it just a little bit more better, even more fantastic than it is, right? Another quality of life thing would be nice is that every time you were breeding animals in your room of requirements or a potion was done, it would have been nice if your owl came into your mail and said, hey, your potions are ready. Hey, it would just pile up into your owl thing, but it would let you know in your owl messages, hey, by the way, your potions are done. Hey, by the way, your breeding is done with the Hippogriff or with the Niffler, right? All that stuff would have been really interesting if they did it that way. Now, is this game perfect? I don't think it's perfect, but it's pretty goddamn close to being a perfect game. They've done a really good job. Avalanche Studios, in my opinion, I love the Disney Infinity stuff back in the day, right? Me and my son played it when he was a kid, like a baby. Okay, I got the characters. I love those little characters. I liked the way the game was, but it was never next level like AAA material. And right now, Portkey and Avalanche Studios have taken their name from just doing IPs for Disney and like Cars 2 and Cars 3, and they've raised the bar for their studio. This is a phenomenal game, right? If you're a Harry Potter fan, this is a must play. If you're not a Harry Potter fan and you're just a fan of open world games, this is a wonderful open world game to just dive into. Now, if you're a person that's looking for the next Dark Souls type of game or Elden Ring type of game, that's not what this is. This is a light action RPG that has just done phenomenal of what it's doing. And what it does everything pretty damn well. I don't give scores on my reviews, and this is not really a review. These are just my thoughts of what it is, right? I absolutely love this game. I recommend it as a full price title. I think it's a phenomenal overall. Avalanche Studios, in my opinion, has now got the goodwill where if they come out with another game, this has kind of also brought a breath of fresh air, right? Those of you that watch me and we talk about lots of different stuff on this channel, it's always like a doomsday scenario, and it's not because of me. It's because of what the industry is doing with games that come out broke and buggy and unfinished, and they meal piece them together over time. And we're always like, when we first saw this, right? We saw those timers, and we're like, what does that mean? Does that mean microtransactions? Does that mean? And even when they tell you there's no microtransactions, everyone's like, well, there's yet, right? And they could add microtransactions, but as of right now, the game itself, standalone, is a complete finished game, and it's such a nice, fresh breath of fresh air to breathe it in and go, holy Christ, they made a game and they sold a game, and it's a really good game. It really is. It's a really nice game from top to bottom. The design of it, the characters of it, the story of it, the combat of it, just everything about it. Blown away by it. It would be almost a perfect score for me. So that is my thoughts of the 93 hours that I put into Hogwarts Legacy. Let me know what you think of this game, right? Let me know what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it, what you think they could add. Do you think it should be a live service? Let me know in the comments section down below. We talked for 40 minutes of my thoughts of this 93 hours. If you guys have questions, I have answers because I've played tons and tons of stuff. So let me go to the live chat, which has been pretty quiet this whole time. So let me know what you guys think. If you're watching this after the fact, I thank you very much. Please make sure you share, like, and subscribe. And let's get to the live show. What's going on, Jesse? 10 things that you want to be after to have 93 hours to cut a lot of the game's content. Wait, what did it say? 10 things that you want to be in after you have 93 hours. Cut a lot of the game content. I mean, I think I answered your question, right, Jesse? I think I answered your question from just my talk for the entire time. I think we answered, 10 things, right? We went down that list. Oh, that's not what I want. All right. No, now that I'm looking at chat, when I do my things, I'm not doing any spoilers, so you probably already left, Lino. Sorry. Morning, Stealth. They have played 3 hours of combat. Guess you're right, Jesse. They didn't play. What's going on, Travis? Cool. You got your chat. You got your copy. What's going on, Mo? I'm confused as well. Dark Souls is the epitome of slow and clunky. So yeah, the Q&A thing isn't working. Yeah, it is. It is. I see your questions there. I'm just not reading them right now. I just read one of Jesse's things. The journalist Ravenclaw guy, Companion 30. They might have cut him out. The journalist. Which one was the journalist? I don't remember the journalist Ravenclaw guy. I must say that they did a very good job with the UI system in Hogwarts Legacy. Oh, yeah, the UI system is great. Like, when you're on the map itself, like, when you hover over a town and it spreads apart and shows you all the stuff because it's so condensed, that's nice. That's a nice little system as well. Every game is repetitive. Every game. Sorry, but I'm calling a game repetitive to me isn't a good complaint. No, I talked about this the other day, Travis. I said games itself are repetitive. Like, if you break down a game, right? Any game, right? You break down a game and say, like, baseball. Well, baseball is very repetitive. A pitcher throws a pitch at the bat hits the guy, and he runs to a base, right? That's a sport. All sports are games, and all games are repetitive. Chess, darts, bowling, baseball, football, soccer, basketball, hockey, rugby, cricket, everything. Those are games, repetitive. Now, for actual video games, yeah, they're repetitive. They're repetitive. All games are repetitive. Life, in general, is repetitive, right? They changed the map in Hogwarts landscape are different than other sides of the map, and they also did a great different landscape of it. Let's see. Only people I've seen that don't like it are just the mid and doesn't overshadow the controversy. I didn't even bring up the controversy. Sebastian Buck is a great character. I wanted more. I wanted more companions in the thing. Like I would pay for DLC for more companions to do more stories. One of my favorite things about Mass Effect 2 was, and even Andromeda, was the quest that you went on with your crewmates, right? Not even the main story, just the companions that you had, right? Go on quests with them and build a relationship. And I'm not talking about the sex relationship type of stuff. I'm just talking about the quest lines that you did with those type of things. That's what I wanted more of in this game. I want to see Hogwarts Legacy, more random events. Dark wizards come to your town. You also save the town, befriend the dark wizards, try to destroy the town, and a great add. Yeah, morale system would have been interesting. And it's just so confusing to me that they didn't do... Like, WB owns the morale system, right? They patented it. They copyrighted it, okay? And they could have used it in Gotham Knights, and they also could have used it... We talked about... Buck came in the other day, talked about how Fable with the halo above your head or the horns in Fable, right? That would have been kind of cool. Obviously, you don't want the horns in the halo, but it would have been cool if you went like down the dark side or whatnot. It would have been cool if your character was sort of like the Sebastian character in the game. Okay? That would have been interesting. Let me see what else you guys are saying here. I'm catching up with your live chat here. The studio should be extremely proud. Very proud. I think they've done a bang-up job with this. They raised the bar, period. They were now open-world games, need to follow it. Yeah, I think certain things in the game, open-world games, they raised the bar, and now they have to maintain that bar, right? What's going on, George? All I care about is who played this and when. I'm still pretty early on in the game, level 27, about 25 hours in, and I'm having a great time. It's a nice change of pace from Stripper Girlfriend. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, you got to get away from that every once in a while, Buck. You can't just keep going to the strip club with Destiny, you know? They cut him out of the game first. They're supposed to bring him back as the companion, and they have a companion card on him. Oh, no, I know they cut him from the game, Jesse. I didn't know who it was, though. I didn't know who it was. My point with the controversy statement was yet to see anyone complain that it's a bad game. No, it's getting actually very, very positive. You know what, though? My news feed is a lot less now, right, Travis? Because any outlet that did a review of the game but didn't review the game, they reviewed the controversy of the game instead of the game itself. Those things I'm done with. I don't want to read those garbage things, because when I'm looking for a review of something, I'm looking for a review of what it is, not their opinion piece of what they think someone said or didn't say and what they feel about, right? I'm looking for a review of the game. So if you're giving a score of that review, tell me what the gameplay is. Tell me what the combat is. Tell me what the story is. Tell me what the things are. I don't give two craps about what the person that had nothing to do with the game and their political views. I have none. Don't care. I don't even care what anyone else's political views are. You shouldn't care about my political views. I shouldn't care about your political views. All we're talking about here is an actual video game. And if an outlet started bringing up other people's things because they and then put bad scores towards the game because of someone that, again, didn't work for the actual game, didn't have anything to do with the game. We watched the credits yesterday. I don't remember seeing any of her name in the credits. Okay? I could be wrong. Maybe I blinked in the very beginning, but I don't remember her in the credits making the game. They want some of the views. Yeah, I don't care about that stuff, though. You know what I mean? I personally don't care. All right, let me go to the questions. If you guys have questions, you can put them in the questions section. We already answered Jesse's 10 things. Travis said, got it working. My biggest question, do you think all of the references to Quidditch proves that it will always be planned for DLC, or have they made it from day one? I mean, it was no impact to the story, so why not DLC? Well, I can go two different ways with this one. One, no DLC because it's a single-player game, and in the very beginning, he says there's no Quidditch this year. You are done by the end of the game. You're done with the school year. The school year's over. So them adding DLC of Quidditch, I don't see happening. What I do see happening, I mean, obviously, if they added it, sure. But as far as the game goes, it's not happening in the year. And the DLC, that means it's the next school year, which is not. So from a lore standpoint, from a game standpoint, I see people that want Quidditch in, but from a lore standpoint, from based on what the game did, I don't see it happening. Now, do they make a separate, if they do add it, do they add it in as a multiplayer / thing to do, and it's separate from the thing? Sure. And again, I brought this up months ago, about talking about like a Rocket League. If they made it like Rocket League, there's a small playable. If you go inside the office of the instructor for the brooms, I forget the teacher's name, but there's an actual playing area of a Quidditch match happening in there, which I think is really, really cool. That they could have, they made a miniature version of it. It'd be cool even if it was single player and you go through. It would have been cool to go through a season or something of Quidditch, right? Just like the Summoner's Court. You go play the game, and whoever scores 3 points first or something like that. I don't know. I don't see them coming out with DLC just based on the lore. But if they do something like a after the fact online version, like a live service aspect of it, sure. But I think they'll add it for Hogwarts 2, right? But who knows? Who knows if they do bring it in? I just want to know where it would fit inside the story game compared to if it's just a multiplayer event type of thing. Let's see. Neutralizer says, are the story decisions you can make that change the ending? Well, I only did one ending. So supposedly there's different endings, but the endings are based on what house you are in and not the person or choices that you make, I don't believe. You can make different choices, but I don't think they change anything. Like, for instance, I joked about it yesterday when I was doing the last mission. I won't spoil it for anybody. Stealth goes, why don't you use the Abracadabra? And I said, I don't want to do it in front of the teacher because I don't want him to know that I know the spells, right? Like, morally, the character, like the person playing the character, don't want to use it in front of the teacher because I think he would look at me differently. But I think if you did it in front of them, I don't think anything would be different. I don't think anything, because I used it in front of other students and no one said anything, right? They didn't even bat an eye. They didn't say anything. George says, I watched a trans streamer play Hogwarts and nobody said a word. Well, how would they? How could they, George? I disagree with them raising the bar. This game was just basically a Ubisoft open world formula instead of towers of climb to reveal stuff. You had landing points. No, and I'll push back on the pushback that you're doing, Dave. I think for the raise the bar aspect of it is for a massive IP and for an open world. I would say what Spider-Man did is raising the bar for other superhero games. And I think what Hogwarts did for this open world is as on par for what Spider-Man did, and then raised it a little bit more for open world games, and especially for an IP like this, right? Now, if you're talking about a generic, Ark Survival 2 comes out and it's an open world survival game type of thing, that's not an IP that was a massive brand like Marvel, like Star Wars, like Star Trek or anything like that. This is a IP of a massive brand outside of video games and then made it into a video game. Obviously, there's other Harry Potter games before this, but as a open world Harry Potter game, this is 100% made the bar higher for the IP of games like this, because just like in the past, every time an IP, a game that came out based on IP, we're like, oh, it's going to be one of those things, right? This is not one of those games. So that alone, it raised the bar. I mean, most single-player games have DLC nowadays. I found out that Horizon Forbidden West will have DLC getting day one. Sure. But if you heard what I said, Travis, I said that the lore-wise, bringing Quidditch into the actual game, where does it fit inside the lore of your game? The teacher in the very first 2 seconds of the game says Hogwarts is canceled for the year, right? For the school year. The game takes place during your 5th year. The game ends with you are done with your 5th year. So if they brought DLC of Quidditch in, it doesn't fit thematically what it is. It's just thrown in type of thing as a part of a game, not because of the lore and the of what Quidditch is based on what they've said in the game. Not saying it wasn't a good game. I personally didn't like it, but it's not a real innovative like everyone is making it out to be. Again, I stand by what I said. I think it's a raises the bar for what the IP of games like this is. In 993, Salazar Slytherin added it to the Chamber of Secrets, and he put the Basilisk in there. Basilisk lived approximately 1,000 years. That means that the Basilisk is down there in the game too. Sure, they could put that in DLC. That's completely different, right? You could make DLC and go on a different actual mission and go inside there, but where does Quidditch fit inside that? Doesn't DLC usually mean it takes place after the main story? Again, listen to what I'm saying, right? Listen to what I'm saying. Quidditch doesn't take place in the summertime during school's ending. Quidditch takes place during the school year. The school year, Quidditch was canceled, right? If they add Quidditch as DLC, it would mean that it's another school year, meaning year 6, right? Quidditch not in year 5. If they add Quidditch, that means it's new school year. It's back for the following year. So lore-wise, it wouldn't make sense to put Quidditch in. If they just want to put it in as, here's a game to play with your friends and it's a standalone mode, then by all means throw it in. But it would not fit into the lore, meaning when you play the game, it would be DLC, but it would be a separate multiplayer, and it would have no connection to... It would be like an instance that you're going into Quidditch. Right? So you start the game up, it says hit A, and then a menu system comes up, and it says, do you want to play co-op Quidditch, or do you want to continue your story? You continue your story, Quidditch doesn't exist in that realm, but if you pick Quidditch, then you're playing Quidditch in this instance, just online, nothing to do with the actual lore and the story of the actual game that you're playing. So some DLC can be prequel type stuff or run alongside the main story timeline-wise. Does not make sense for Quidditch. Does not make sense for Quidditch. If you played the game, you would know what I'm talking about, that Quidditch doesn't exist this year, school year, of Hogwarts. So them just putting it in, just to put it in, would break what the lore and the story is of the actual story that you're going through. There's notes and mentions throughout the entire game that you find stuff. I need you to talk to Professor Black. There was a moment in the game that I was like, oh, we're going to get Quidditch in the game. I thought there was a moment. I won't ruin it for anybody, but there's a moment, and you'll know what it is in the game. You're like, oh, wait a minute. This would be super easy to add it. Exactly, Jesse, right? In the school year, Quidditch is canceled. And by the end of the game, okay, and there would be no prequel, right? It can't be a prequel, Dave, because the prequel, your character starts the game at the beginning of the school year. And by the end of the game, you're done with the first year, right? So where were the prequels? So are you starting your character before you become to school to play Quidditch? You see what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense to add Quidditch for the lore purpose of the story. If they want to make it just a standalone thing, but then you have to make a new character, it wouldn't be your character. So there's a whole bunch of stuff. It just doesn't make sense. Especially the attention to detail that this studio did for the game. I can't imagine they'd just be like, oh yeah, Quidditch is in the game now. So let's say this happens, right? Let's say all of a sudden, Quidditch is in the game. So now what? I have to play the game entirely through again so I can be a part of that in my main story. I just recently replayed Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and then they played RC Rogue. Those are still two best open worlds I've ever played. I love Black Flag. Black Flag. One of my favorite open world games is Red Dead Redemption, and then Red Dead Redemption 2. Right? Open world games. I loved it. I know a lot of people don't like it, but the attention to detail that they did in Red Dead Redemption. I love Spider-Man open world game. I love that absolutely thing. That whole game was just fantastic. Miles Morales open world. I mean, it's just New York again, but the constantly doing a lot of stuff and leveling up your character and progressing through the story. They just do a really good job. What this game has done, now, I haven't played Valhalla, so I don't know how Valhalla is. I haven't played Assassin's Creed Odyssey or Origins, okay? So I don't know the spacing, right? But the spacing in this game, constantly having a cave to go into, an encampment, a poacher's place, a dungeon, enemies in between. It's like this giant open world map, and you don't go farther than 10 seconds, 15 seconds without running into something or doing something. And they do a really good job with that. No matter what direction you go or what you do, you're running along. One of the complaints I actually have is that they give you a hippogriff, right? And you have a threstrill. Is that what it is? Threstrill? You get the broom, and then you got your ground mount. You barely ever use the ground mount. You're not going to use the ground mount. I mean, people could use it, but it's faster to get around with the broom. The broom is faster than the hippogriff. The hippogriff is epic to fly around. It's really awesome when you fly around. But the broom is like the go-to thing. I would have almost done this, right? But it's like a happy medium. Because you could just fly the broom through the trees and all that other stuff, I feel like it negates everything else, right? I feel like your broom shouldn't fly higher than the trees. And what I mean by that is, if you have to stay pretty much low to the ground, then you would explore through like the paths, but get around. The mount itself, what you ride on, doesn't make any kind of sense. And then the hippogriff should be way up high above the trees and whatnot. Because they did the broom the way they did, it kind of just overshadows everything. I was saying it did a spin-off game in the Quidditch, but Rocket League style, not even tied to the story. If they do that, that's fine. If they do a separate game or a separate game mode, like I said in the beginning of the game, you click Quidditch, then fine, right? And they could do something along the lines, it's a practice session, right? Because even characters in the game talk about how, you know, they just want to play. So maybe it's not a traditional type of thing. There's already people talking about the next year when the next game, the year 6 of your character, they would have that event going on, right? Where the try games, whatever, would be going on, and they could bring Quidditch into that. So maybe Hogwarts 2, they would bring it in. Red Dead 2 open world was amazing. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. The best open worlds should make me feel like I'm in the world, and I'm not a world that does to make any sense. I understand what you're saying. So, like, you just kind of want to lose yourself. Now, obviously, mileage may vary based on what type of gamer you are, right? If you don't like open world games, or maybe you do like open world games, but maybe the setting doesn't do anything for you, right? Maybe you like sci-fi, so you wouldn't like the open world of Red Dead Redemption. Maybe you like westerns, or, you know, more down to earth, and you wouldn't like the fantasy type of stuff, right? It all depends on what you're doing. There was a Quidditch game for PlayStation 2. Yeah. It's actually pretty good, actually. But think about it. If they just add Quidditch as a standalone mode, sure. Lore-wise doesn't make sense, but if they want to make it into just to put it into the game, great. I would personally rather have the Summoner's Court and stuff like that to be played. Right? Especially if you're coming into my world where you can't do this with Quidditch, because in the story he said there's no Quidditch this school year. But if we're playing after the fact, you play the story is separate, but you come in as co-op. Now I want to fight you, Travis. I want to compete against you in Summoner's Court. You come into my game. My game happens to be in winter, so I'm the host. You come into my game, and we're playing Summoner's Court in winter. You happen to be in summer or spring or fall, and I go to your game and we play Summoner's Court in fall, right? It doesn't really matter because Summoner's Court exists in that realm, so we can just play that game, right? Because you could be like, oh, the school year's still going and the game exists. because the game doesn't exist for Quidditch in the actual story, it doesn't make sense to have, hey, let's go play Quidditch with my character. Right? It's interesting that Wizard's chess is in the game. Right? It's in the game. Right? I won't spoil it for anybody, but it's in the game. They could add that really easy, and you can move the pieces super easy. Right? I'm using an example, but Odyssey, I love that you can see the armies clashing around you, like the actual battles. Right. Well, I thought it was pretty interesting. There was a couple of moments in the game where the centaurs were fighting the bad guys, and then the trolls came in and they were fighting the bad guys, and then the spiders were fighting the wizards, the dark wizards, or the goblins. Like, I love when the NPCs fight each other and you just kind of sit back and watch. That happened quite a bit. You hear like commotion going on. Those little moments in the game make it feel like it's alive. Like, the game itself is just a well done game. They could have charged you $30 just for Hogwarts Puzzle Solver, right? Like, remember the time frame in the 90s where they would sell you like a 3 to 4 hour game just to sell you that type of puzzle game? They could have done that with Hogwarts. Just the castle itself. They could have sold you a standalone Hogwarts castle just to explore and go through it. Right? Room of Requirements could have been a $20 add-on, and then the game itself, right? There's like 3 separate games in this thing. Combat's the most underrated thing in this game. The more I played and the more I did, the more you unlocked. Everyone's like, oh, Avacadabra is just so overpowered. You have no idea. You have no idea. Sure, it's a one-hit wonder and it makes the kill, but you gotta wait for it to come back, and it takes like a good 2.5, 3 minutes to come back, or something like that, right? Meanwhile, I could do Glacius. I could do what's the spell that you change them into the barrel, right? You upgrade your talent tree, you make them into the barrel, exploding barrel. So you freeze people and throw the thing. Everyone dies. Everybody dies. You hit people with Glacius, it spreads, it all hits them, they all become cursed, and then you throw the barrel, you turn one of them into a barrel, you throw the barrel, and everyone absolutely dies, right? It's super OP, but it's good to be OP because this game does a very good job of teaching you that, hey, you just learned how to be a wizard, okay? You're brand new, and by the end of the game or mid-game, you feel overpowered, okay? And it all depends on where you were. Personally, you guys can watch how I played, right? All the things are up there, except maybe like 2 videos, which I played offline. But most of my playthrough is through the whole thing, okay? And as I was playing through, I was exploring everywhere. I was leveling up faster than most people. I was like level 18 going on. I was like 10 levels above some of the stuff I was doing. So I was murdering people a lot faster. But if you play through the story, you're going to be leveled as it is. The last boss, I was the same level, I believe. I think we were 36, 37 when we beat it. And he was, I think, 37 as well, right? We're struggling a little bit. Yes, but that requires learning combos, and combos are bad outside of fighting games, right? Yeah, exactly. What if they put a new game, 1v1 dueling, but PvP mode still feels Dumbledore versus Voldemort type of style PvP dueling? Could also be very cool. I said dueling in the very beginning, Jesse. When we first saw the dueling, I was like, oh, dueling would be cool, and that's when we thought PvP would be in the game. But then I kind of think, could you use the unforgivable curses in PvP, right? I think you would have to like block or do something to build up the meter to then use it. But I think you have your ancient magic that you could use. It'd be interesting. It would be interesting to... You would have to find the weakness. The way the weakness would work is because I could block, you could block constantly. So it would have to come down to no one has any advantages. Okay, everyone has all the same spells unlocked. And it would be how fast that you can counter. It would be a rock, paper, scissors match type of thing. You know what I mean? You can one-hit enemies so early in this in the game. Came the spell with the right combo can one-shot. Yeah, anything can one-shot. It all depends on who you're fighting and what their ability, like what they're doing at that time. Like if you hang the tongue of the dung guy and then slice him, he's dead. Right? You levitate levioso and then slice him. Done. If you get the spider as he's digging and then pull him out of the ground, he's dead. Right? There's so many different ways that you can hurt or kill somebody. But if you just sit there with the regular right trigger and you're just hitting the thing, everyone's like, "Oh, this is so boring and repetitive. I don't understand." They're supposed to be adding a new game plus, I think. It will come in April with PlayStation 4 and Xbox One gets the game. That'd be interesting. But then even then, I'm playing New Game Plus. Is that going to make it more... I mean, longevity is there. But even then, I'm already OP. Right? I'm already OP. So I get to keep all the spells, but then I'm going back from level 1. So what am I learning then? You know what I mean? Because the New Game Plus is I have everything, and then I'm playing through the story. They're supposed to be adding... I already got that. So what's another IP you would like to see get a game like this? Transformers is not allowed, but seriously, would you be interested? I mean, I would be okay with a game like this if you did another, like a Marvel character or DC character. Like, I would be okay if you made a Superman game, right? And we've talked about Superman games where you're a young Superman and you're gaining your powers as you go. And by the end of the game, you'd be like, become Superman, right? And then the next game, there wouldn't be another game. That would be it. Like, it would be like Smallville, right? You would be playing as a kid in high school, getting your powers and like leveling up through the thing. And by the time you become Superman, it's the end of the game, and you know that story, right? You know that story going forward. Level 40 to 100, yeah, but what spells, right? They could have spells tied to New Game Plus. What, like add new spells? It would be cool if I could learn. I could level up my spells to where I do the fire tornado and stuff like that. That would be cool. If I could do some of the spells that they did, like the lightning and the flame tornado and some of the other things they did, that would be interesting. I'm worried that but dude, if the Iron Man game plays like this, with a big world to explore, but then the Anthem-style fight controls, I'll play that shit out of... Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, so we know there's a story-based... I think it's supposed to be... Is it an action game or an open-world game? The Captain America, Black Panther type of game that Amy Hennig's working on. We have the Iron Man game coming out. We have the Wolverine game coming out by Insomniac, right? If that's an open-world type of game, like Spider-Man, but now with Wolverine. I mean, I'm okay with stuff like that. If you could put the tender loving care, no matter what the IP is, regardless if you like this game or don't like this game, the attention to detail they put into Hogwarts Legacy is fantastic. And it's harder, to me, to make a game like this than it is to make a God of War, because God of War is not... It's all fantasy. It's all fantasy. It's not based on another entity that's out there to piece together the books and the show. Okay, like people have this identity of what Harry Potter is and what Hogwarts world is based on the books, and then you have another group of people that are based on the movies, and then you're taking both of these things that have nothing to do with this game, and you're putting it into this world, and you're building the lore and everything around it, and that to me is a lot harder to do than to go, hey, yeah, we're making a God of War game, and you're making a beautiful world, not taking anything away from that. Not taking anything away from Horizon Forbidden West, right? Because again, that's just a made-up world that you're just making. You're taking someone else's work and then making it into something to qualify it, to go, wow, this is amazing. This is exactly like this, right? Which is harder. I never said... I know you didn't say I say it. I never thought, and I've never agreed with them saying that single player is dead. Single player games will always always be good. I know people want to play, and I'm a big fan of like Battlefield and Call of Duty back in the day. But man, I love a good single player game. I love the Tomb Raider series. I love the Splinter Cell series. I love the Uncharted series, Gears of War series, Halo series. All of these games that are Mass Effect, Fable. Right? I can go on and on and on. Right? They're so good. The only thing that we want with these great single player games, when they're so good, we want more of it, is to play with a friend. Right? Like people want the next Spider-Man to be a co-op game, right? They're like, oh, it'd be so cool if we could be a co-op where you could be Miles and I could be Peter or Venom, whatever, right? People want to play Fallout co-op. People want to play Skyrim co-op. There's these things, there's these certain games. The reason they want to play co-op is because they want to play with their buds or friends to have that even more cool experience with somebody. It's built on stuff but different mythology. Yeah, but it's mythology. What I'm saying, Dave, there's not a blockbuster movie about God of War. There's not a bestseller of God of War. Sure, there's mythology based on that stuff, and they're making a game, but you're not understanding what I'm saying. You're literally taking this IP that's been loved, okay, that's already been written in books, and people know the description of stuff, and there's movies that show you what that description of that stuff is, and they have to be true to that. Right? This is the talk we always have. When you do something that's known, an IP that's known, you have to stay true to the lore of the game, of the book, of the movie, of the show, right? And it's a lot harder to take something like this and recreate it than it is to take God of War and go, oh yeah, I think this landscape's going to be this and whatnot. They're currently making a show that's not been released yet. Great. The show's coming in after the games. The games have been out for decades. Right? The show has to take what the games brought in. So that's the opposite now, right? You're taking the show, which Halo failed on, okay? Because Halo didn't respect the lore, okay? So Halo didn't respect the lore of Halo. The show sucked. You might like it, but it still sucked because it didn't. It's like a different timeline or whatever. Okay, so now they have a God of War series coming out, Last of Us series, based on a video game. They have to be true to the thing, but they're also not staying to the lore. This game, Hogwarts Legacy, stayed true to the lore where it came from and then built upon it. Co-op is cool, but not if it feels like I have to play with a friend or I haven't enjoyed the game. As an example of this, I can enjoy Borderlands by myself and can't do that with Diablo. Right. Well, there's a complete huge balance if you play a co-op game, right? So let's say they add co-op to this game. Well, does the characters scale, right? Is it going to make everything super easy now, right? They have to do a different balance when it's co-op compared to when it's single player. Exactly, Rose. That's exactly what I'm saying. The scrutiny of Harry Potter, like for instance, when a Star Wars game comes out, if they look at Battlefront 2, when they put Tatooine in there and you walking around Tatooine, even though it's a player versus player shooter, you're like, man, look at the detail of this. This looks amazing. Oh, did you see that? They put the thing in from the bar, from the cantina. Oh, you're on the Death Star. It's under scrutiny because it's already been seen, fans of it, and they replicate that for the game. They have to stay true to that. It's completely different if nothing was made before and they're like, oh yeah, I'm making a God of War or Horizon Zero Dawn, and you put it out there. I'm opposite. Everyone screams for co-op. I prefer story-driven single-player games, personally. I don't want co-op in my Spider-Man 2. Yeah, but if there's co-op in Spider-Man 2, how does that affect you if you choose to play co-op? If you could play single-player, for instance, I played Marvel's Avengers the entire time by myself through single-player, right? But if you choose to play co-op, you can. How does that affect you in some way, shape, or form if it's baked from the very beginning to be a single player game with co-op, right? If you like single player, then play single player. But if you like co-op, then they have to make sure that the co-op is balanced enough So when you play through certain missions, you're not just destroying everything super fast. Jesse says the God of War TV show is lame. The movie of the is a lot more people going to watch that on the big screen. Are they making a movie and a show? They're making a God of War movie and show? I don't understand the mentality of you like single player games, and I agree. I like single player games as well. But if they made that single player game single player and co-op, how does that affect you? Co-op should be an addition, not a requirement. Sure, just like I think Star Wars Battlefront 2 does the perfect thing, right? You can play first person or you can play third person. Okay? The way you choose to play the game, you play how you want. If you want to play first person, you play first person, but I can switch. Not only can I switch from first to third, but I can also switch from left to right shoulders, right? It's addition things they added. Doesn't affect me in any way, shape, or form. Now, someone in PvP can go, well, you can see around the corner better if you're third person, but then play third person, right? So if it's a single player game with co-op, then how does it affect you if it's choose to be co-op? Like, for instance, Grand Theft Auto, right? Grand Theft Auto. I could play first person all the way through now, or I could play third person all the way through. It's a great add-on that they did. No, I didn't say mandatory, right? Co-op just means that you can play with your friend because you want it. Maybe you have a brother or sister that's in the same house, right? Maybe you're just a little kid and we're not full grown adults, and you want to sit in front of a thing and go, hey, I want to play, right? And I'm not talking about play like, right? Like Gotham Knights does it perfect. I know people think it's a crap game and it's all these problems, but I could literally play Gotham Knights with a buddy, and we could play together and take out people left and right together, and go on a boss fight and play together, or I can be in his world. We're still separate. We're still playing. We're still competing. We're still fighting things and doing things on our own, but in the same world. And if we want to join together, we can join together, right? We can choose to play together, or we can choose to play by ourselves, or I can choose to just be by myself and I don't want anyone to join. That's perfect. That's playing video games. That's the way it should be. And obviously, if a person comes into the game, then it should scale. Because if you have two people doing the same thing, you're going to be able to destroy bosses faster if they don't scale it. So if a second person comes in and you're playing through that same boss battle, then it should scale. But again, if it's a choice, if it's a single player game with co-op, I don't understand how that would affect anyone that's like, I like single player games better. In my opinion, was good. I had more fun with 3 hours of it than I did with 30 hours of the Souls game. Gotham Knights gets way more hate than it should. Yeah, I mean, what they did, and it's funny because in an article they wrote, they said that the co-op was their shining thing, and I think it was. Me and Stealth played it a couple times. I played with a bunch of randos. I just joined their game, and going around and kicking ass with bad guys in that game was actually really fun. And I know I hate to break this to you, but video games, I know this is a secret. Here, gather around. Let me get close. Are you close? Get close to the. It's supposed to be fun. I know it's a secret. It's supposed to be fun. So, I think this game is 100% worth the $70. It was too close. Sorry. Did you hear the data mine reveal that there was DLC for Gotham Knights? Yeah, that was like months ago. Now, we don't know what they have planned. We also know that the company's already moved on to their next game. So there's a small team. If they do, the case files, and look, I said this because I'm like a mind reader, okay? I said this in the very beginning. I said that game lives or dies based on the amount of villains you have. Okay? They only put 3 villains in the game. Okay? Harley Quinn, Mr. Freeze, and Clayface. Sure, you have the Talon, and you have Ra's al Ghul's what's her name? The daughter. I forget her name. But that's 5 people. It's like you need 8, 10, 12. Like in a superhero game, you need villains. And they fell short with that game. Okay? Like, think about this, right? The amount of storylines, companions that we have in Hogwarts is the same amount as villains inside of Gotham Knights. Main villains. I'm talking about the patch that dropped yesterday. A new data mine says DLC is coming. No, I understand that, and I'm saying in reference to the DLC for that game, DLC could be an expansion for Heroic Assault. It could be anything. They needed more villains in that. Case files need to be a thing in that. If they drop case files for that game at $10 for case files, and it's like 2 hours of content or whatever, the people that like that game are going to buy that game or play that game. Oh, nice, Jesse. Now, wouldn't it be fun if you could play that game on your PlayStation 5 with a buddy? Do you know what I mean? Wouldn't it be cool to explore Hogwarts with a friend? Gotta ask, Suicide Squad think we could have a battle pass or whatever gets interest of she's too OP? I mean, they're gonna have in Enchantress. They're going to have a battle pass in that game. It's already, unless they take it out and they change it, right? Like, that game worries me. We're just months away. We're 3 months, 4 months away, 3.5 months away from Suicide Squad's coming out. Are they dropping anything anytime soon to tell us anything about that game? Now, the reason I ask that is because we already know about it. If you guys watch my podcast and watch my show, I say, look, if you have nothing to say, don't say anything at all. But they have a date. They have a date. And we know about this game because they've been promoting the game, but they don't show us anything about the game. So they want us to know about the game, but they don't tell us anything about the game. I personally would rather the game not be talked about until it's ready. And then when it's ready, then they start talking about it, saying, hey, so we know that the date's coming. But they haven't said anything. Now, Gotham Knights was a mixed bag of stuff. Wasn't very good sales for them. It was already on sale afterwards. Hogwarts for WB is the complete opposite of Gotham Knights. This thing's going to break records, okay, for how many people bought it, pre-ordered it, day 1, week 1. Well, once they release those numbers, we'll see, okay? And then we have the Suicide Squads. Like, well, where's that going to happen? Is it going to be better than Gotham Knights and worse than Hogwarts? Because I don't think it's going to be better. I don't think it's going to be better. The buddy system, that's right. Suicide Squad is going to be a live service, yeah. Yep. Couch co-op, I want to be Hogwarts Legacy so badly. Mid-February, and I can't pre-order it. I mean, to me, it says getting delayed. I don't know. I think the day of pre-ordering games the way it was in the past. Now, pre-orders has come a long way, right? Back in the day, before digital downloads, there was no pre-orders. Pre-orders was you would go to Babbage's or electronic, boutique or whatever, and you'd be like, hey, when does such and such come out? And they're like, oh, it comes out in 7 months. And you're like, can I order it? And they're like, yeah. And the reason for that was so they knew that store, that 300 people in the area want this game. And they're like, all right, well, we're only getting 5 copies. So now they took pre-orders. And then because the industry was like, hey, if we take pre-orders, then we can sell more games and we know what's happening. So then if they get pre-orders ahead of time, and before it gets printed, right? Then they go, hey, we already know that there's this much interest in the game, so let's make 1,000,000 copies because we're going to sell those like this. And if we have 1,000,000 people that are getting it right off the bat, then we might want to make 2,000,000 because those people, you see what I'm saying? So they already know what's happening. Then pre-orders came where now they're, hey, get it early and get this mouse and get this mouse pad and get this statue and get this steel book and get this whatever. Now we're in this digital landscape and we really don't need to pre-order. Okay, because pre-ordering or getting day one is the exact same. Now, interest, like Steam's been doing it for years. You hit the wish list. You're not pre-ordering. You're just showing interest in the actual thing. That might be the way it's going. And a lot of the pre-orders, the reason they put the statues and the steel books and all the other stuff is because people weren't pre-ordering the games. They're like, well, how do we entice, right? How do we entice people to buy the game? Some people didn't even want the game. They just wanted the cool statue. Okay? Hence why, where is it? Hence why there's they just sell them separately. The Ghost, they used to sell them just separately at Target, right? Why do I have to buy a $70 game or $120 to get the game, but I really don't want the game. I just want the Ghost, right? I just want whatever else it is. So now there's people that are just selling the gear without the game. Right? What just did that recently? Diablo. Diablo's pre-orders are selling like bookends and candles and whatever else with no game. Because you don't need to pre-order the game anymore. Back then, pre-orders were the best thing ever. Go to a store, EB Games, so they make they're keeping business going. Right. They don't need that anymore. They don't need you, right? They know that if you're interested in the game or not interested in the game, you're gonna buy the game, and it's digital download. So they don't need 6 months anymore to find out if Target or Walmart needs to put in how many copies of stuff. Right, 80% of the customers are buying digital, so they don't really need to go months out in advance to find out how many stores need how many copies for their local area. Like, I'm buying the Hella edition for Dead Island 2 because I want the steelbook and map. Giving tarot cards and my ex as I find the tarot stuff stupid. Now here's another thing for the pre-orders and whatnot. A lot of people are like, "Well, I want to get the physical copy because I want to own the game." That's a completely different conversation as well, because we own nothing now. Doesn't matter if you buy digital. Doesn't matter if you buy physical. If you're buying physical and they give you a coaster set, you own the coaster set, but you don't own the game. Right? You're paying for a license for that game. Hence why certain games you're like, oh, I bought that game, but I can't play it. Right? Doesn't matter. Basically, if you bought a physical copy and then they shut it down or take it offline or single player, they're not supporting anymore, the license agreement or whatever, basically you got a free coaster because that disc no longer works anymore. It's an expensive coaster, though. Expensive coaster. Let's see what else you guys are saying here. If you guys like this type of content, please make sure you hit that share, like, subscribe button. This is what we usually do in the mornings. We usually have conversations of topics and different things that we talk about. Sometimes we have gameplay. The last couple weeks, we've been playing Hi-Fi Rush. Then we played Hogwarts Legacy since, the 6th of February. Here we are on the 16th, 10 days later. We put 93 hours into the game. We finished the actual game. I already made a second character. I'm going to play it completely different than I played the first time. I'm not going to try to 100% everything again. I'm basically running through the story just to get the achievements and whatnot. But I am going to go into a different build category and play completely different. So we're doing one of each house, and I'll casually play that. Tonight, we will not be playing Hogwarts Legacy. Tonight, we're going to be having a podcast. called Generation X Gaming, the weekly podcast that goes over a few of the top stories in the past week, and we rant along the way. That'll be tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on 30 NSG. I'm weird, and I know games at launch are what people pay attention to, but I usually wait a year to judge a game. Sure. Well, that's not weird now, Travis, because now you need a year to wait for all the patches and all the bug fixes and the live service aspects of these games to come out and fix and actually be an actual game. I mean, let's see. No Man's Sky came out in 2016, wasn't really fixed until 2018. Okay. Sea of Thieves came out in 2018, wasn't really a full game around until about 2020. Let's see what else. Battlefront 5. Okay. Came out about 18 months later. They had enough content in there to be like what it should be. Battlefield 2042 came out about a year and a half ago almost. And we're still waiting for that game to be what it should have been at launch. Cyberpunk came out 2 years later, and it finally became exactly what it was supposed to be, right? And the list goes on and on and on and on. Fallout 76 came out. It was a shell of a game or what it was, and then it became a better game. So waiting for a game to complete, this is why Hogwarts, as a third-party project, not owned by a first-party title, mostly Sony, because Sony comes out with bangers, right? Sony comes out with God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, Ratchet and Clank, Spider-Man Miles Morales, right? The list goes to Tsushima. Those first-party title games on PlayStation are rock solid, right? Fantastic games. We have yet to really see a game in the recent years that are third-party that comes out and you're like, wow, an actually complete game, So it's nice to see Hogwarts come out and it's actually made a game, sell a game, and it's a good game. It's a few and far between for third-party games like that, because most third-party games that are coming out, third-party are like live service games, they're multiplayer games, they're free-to-play games, type of stuff, right? I mean, what are people excited about? They were excited about the remake of EA's Dead Space. You know what I mean? Sure. That's a third-party project, but it's a remaster. Homefront: The Revolution at launch was crap. A year later, it was solid. Which game is that? I gotta look that up. I don't remember. Homefront, I think we played Homefront. I'm pretty sure we played Homefront. Homefront Revolution. Oh, yeah. We played that. That was terrible. We played Homefront. I never played Homefront Revolution. Homefront Revolution, I played Homefront in 2011. Actually, no, we did play Homefront Revolution. We tried it. Let me look at some gameplay here. Let me make sure it's the game I'm thinking of. Yeah. I played very little of this. So you're saying 2016 when it came out was terrible. In 2017 it was good, or is it much later after that, Travis? Hold on one second. Yeah, give me 1 second. I'll be right back. All right. Sorry about that. Yeah, Homefront Revolution, but the list goes on and on, right? The last, I would say, hell, 9 years. 9 years from when Destiny came out in 2014. Okay. For me, it was a year. Right? So from when Destiny came out back in the day, hell, we could go actually a little bit earlier than that because I played Defiance. We played Defiance in, I think Defiance came out in 2012. Right? See. Defiance came out in 2013, right? 2013, and then they came out with Defiance 2050 in 2018. Now, think about this, right? The Defiance came out in 2013. I played that a crap ton before Destiny came out. And 5 years after Defiance came out, they came out with Defiance 2050. They made the game better. They added all the stuff, but it took them that long to make the game better. Right? And that to me is like where games started 2013, 2014. You had these games come out, and year after year, they would work on them and get them better and better and better. Hell, right now, everyone's like, oh, Destiny is so good right now. Right? Everyone's amazing. I haven't watched the new trailer or anything like that. But it took you 9 years to get to this point. Right? 9 years to get to this point. It's almost like watching the Marvel's franchise from when you first watched The Incredible Hulk or Iron Man up until Endgame, and then going, that was amazing, right? But you had to wait so long to get to that point to be like, oh yeah, so good. It was just like, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Oh, looking back on that, it's so good. So here's the question. If a game is at 5 at launch, but after updates and everything, you enjoy it, and it's like a 7 or 8, which one is it? Let me see that question. Here's a question. If a game is a 5 at launch, but after updates and everything, you enjoy it, like say a 7 or 8, which one is it? What do you mean, which one is it? If a game comes out and it's a 5, then to me, it's a 5, right? If it comes after the fact, right? No Man's Sky, great example, right? No Man's Sky, when it came out, was like a 5 or a 6, and I loved it, right? I loved it. I was having fun with it, but it was like mid tier, right? It was so hollow and empty, but we didn't know that until we actually put all the hours in and found out it was hollow and empty. But now you go back to No Man's Sky, and it's like a 9, right? Right now, you go back to No Man's Sky, and it's a banger. It's an absolute. It's a great whole event. The whole thing, the co-op, the base building, the ship building. You look at that and go, well, is it a 9? No, I think first impressions are everything. Right? First impressions are everything. Sure, someone comes along like my son. Think about this, right? He's 8. Okay, Destiny is also 8. It'll be 9 in September. He'll be 9 in August. Okay. The game, when it came out, is all right. Now it's amazing. But no, the first impressions of that game, so the whole player base that was playing that game in the start compared to who's playing it now is literally a kid that wasn't born yet to being an 8-year-old. Right? Just starting. So if a kid at 8 or 9 starts to play Destiny right now, is like, wow, this is a great game. But man, building up to that point wasn't great. Waiting 6 years for No Man's Sky to get to that point is not great. It's great for the people buying the game right then and there. It wasn't great for the people that waited 6 years to get it after they spent their money at day one. So first impressions to me are everything. Not saying you can't win me back over, because again, No Man's Sky is a 6, but here's the reality of it. If you're a mediocre game in the beginning and it's an incomplete game, I only have a certain amount of time to play games. And that constantly changes based on life. Okay, like right now, I put 93 hours into Hogwarts. Okay, if the game gets better, cool. But it's a really good game, and I enjoyed my 93 hours in the game. Where if I put 6 hours in and go, oh, this game is garbage, and then all of a sudden, 5 years later, the game becomes great, I don't have the time to put towards that game. You had your time to shine 5 years ago. Okay, now there's another game coming out that's complete, finished, okay, not buggy mess, day one. And day one games that are complete will always win for me over a game that finishes it 5 years after the 5 years they worked on it. Does it get any better to make it where you can enjoy it and go, wow, it's so good? I can say I like it. Cyberpunk at launch, I hate it. Now I love it. Well, it all depends. If I know people that spent $120 on Battlefront 2042, and they hate it. They're done with it. They're not going to go back, right? Well, if someone that picks up, Battlefield 2042 right now for $20, okay, is going to be like, wow, this is a great game for $20, right? Someone that's playing Battlefield on Game Pass for absolutely nothing, right? For the $10 a month they're paying, right? They're going to be like, wow, it's actually a really good game for free. You see what I'm saying? So if I paid $100 and the game was broke, buggy, and unfinished, and then 2 years later, someone can pick it up for $40, $30, and they're like, wow, it's a great game. I mean, eye of the beholder. It's also based on what you feel like you're getting your money's worth for. You could have taken that $60 that you paid for that video game and waited 2 years for. You could have put it in an investment firm and made some money off of it. You know what I mean? Not much, but you still can make money off of it. This is why I laugh about Starfield. It's not even out yet, and it looks like a watered-down version of No Man's Sky. I think it's going to get a lot of comparisons to No Man's Sky, and that's fine. No Man's Sky was getting compared to Star Citizen, and it was also getting compared to, was it Horizon Elite Dangerous? Sorry, at least Elite Dangerous, right? That's what happens. Space games are going to get compared to space games, and everyone's looking at Starfield and going, oh, it's going to be better than No Man's Sky because it's got to have RPG elements and story, which, sure. But how's that everything else going to be when you explore a planet that's completely empty? It's procedurally generated. Are we going to have the derpy things that we had in No Man's Sky? Are we going to have planets that absolutely nothing is out there? What's the point? This is why I love Yazuka games. I always feel like it's a full, complete game at launch, and that's what games should feel like, right? This is exactly why first impressions are everything for video games and whatnot, right? Imagine in any other field, Travis, you go buy a game or a car, okay, and they're like, yeah, you buy the car now, and we'll give you the 4 doors, the reclining seats, and the air conditioning at a later date. You could take the car right now as is. It's got 4 wheels, a steering wheel, an engine, okay, and a trunk for $40,000. We'll give you everything else down the road. Is that fine? And you're like, yeah, that sounds like a good deal to me, right? How about going to a restaurant and getting your food, okay, and you ordered a steak dinner with steak, potatoes, corn, broccoli, all right, and they're like, yeah, so we're going to bring you out the corn first, and at a later time, we're going to bring out the broccoli and the mashed potatoes and the steak, right? No, when the food comes out, you're like, man, this looks good. It even tastes better, right? Because first impressions, you're like, damn, this is really good. Now, if you've never been to that restaurant before and you get a really good meal, you're more likely to come back. But if you have a bad meal, okay, or incomplete or undercooked, right? Perfect example, undercooked, you're like, yeah, we're not coming back to this restaurant. Or we'll give it time. Restaurant just opened. maybe they're getting the bugs out. We'll come back in a couple of months. Then you come back a couple of months, you're like, nope, still broke. I'm not going back there. But if they make a good first impression on you, they have a customer for life. Right? Same thing with games. They made Cyberpunk 2077 and flopped on Netflix, made a Cyberpunk TV show, and everybody said, like it, saying that, hey, the TV show was good, and it could play the game too. Make some more sales on the game. Yeah, exactly. And we've always talked about that, Jesse, about cross-promotion. This is why I said about the Marvel game compared to when they brought out the Hawkeye and Kate Bishop, and when they brought out Miss Marvel, and I'm like, why didn't you cross-promote this? Why didn't you have a She-Hulk here? And obviously there's a lot of moving parts in how they release things or not release things. If you guys like this type of content and conversation that we have, you're more than welcome to hit that like button. It's absolutely free. It helps us out here as a small channel. When they look at the amount of views and then they look at the amount of likes for people for these live streams, it helps the channel grow. So make sure you hit that like button if you're new here. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, you can hit the subscribe button. It's also free. You can see all the other content that I do. I'll be making some videos, uploads in a couple days. And then on top of that, if you want to go above that, you can become a member. It's $4.99. And memberships, basically what that is, you become part of my little community here. And it helps me as a content creator grow as well to give you more content, put more time into making stuff like this. Because obviously this is like a part-time type of thing. I do other things, and then I try to make this content as possible. We are wrapping up this morning show. We're here Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning to about noon Eastern, give or take a couple of minutes. We'll be back tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, for Generation X Gaming. It's a weekly podcast that goes over a few of the top stories in the past week, and we rant along the way. Let me show you. We've been doing the episodes here for a really long time. We have lots of different stuff. We're doing season 9. Okay, we do a season 9. As you can tell, this is our podcast that we do. It's called Generation X Gaming. We're at episode 344 this week. So we've done 343 episodes. We have playlists. You can go watch the entire playlist. You can listen to our entire playlist on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Anchor.fm. It's a podcast that goes over a few of the top stories from the past week, and we rant along the way. It's always fun to do that type of stuff. So come on out. I hang out with my brother as we bullshit and talk about stuff, and you guys in chat are a part of it as well. Sean says, does Atomic Heart drop next week, or are you going to play it? I'm not really into Atomic Heart, Sean. I might try it. We're not going to do it like I did Hogwarts Legacy. I'm not going to jump into it and play it like every waking moment, day and night. If it comes out, if it's on Game Pass, obviously, we'll give it a shot. We'll play it on the evening streams from either Monday or Tuesday, right? Or Wednesday. But other than that, I don't think I'm going to dive into that. I'm not really interested in it. It could be a good game. I mean, we played High on Life. We played Hi-Fi Rush, which I still have to complete. I haven't beat it yet. I have 2 more bosses left to fight in that game. So, yeah. So we'll try it out. I don't know if it'll be that good, but we'll see. That, and also you have the 10-hour trial on Wild Hearts as well. So we might play that as well. Yeah, if it's on Game Pass, I'll try it. Obviously, we pay for the service, so why not? Why not? It's on Game Pass. Game Pass. I have a Game Pass thing, but can't find it right now. I did. I 100% at Hogwarts, Sane. Yep. Yeah, we completed it all last night. Watched the credits, finished the story, got the whole field guide done. What else did we do? Yeah, we did all the completion list. I am missing, doesn't count towards 100%. I'm going to still complete it 100%. We're missing a couple of furniture pieces, but it doesn't go to the total 100%. But we've done everything. I'm gonna start a second playthrough now, and we're gonna go through it and play as Slytherin. I made a girl character, Slytherin, and we're going to play a completely different build, be an absolute bitch the entire time, and go through the story that way. What was the most annoying part of 100%ing? Any tips? Yeah, so good question. I say that when you play the game, if you're going to 100% it, if that's your goal to 100%, when you do the main stories, right? I don't know how many hours you're in. You do if you do 100%, do the main story quest, do the side quest. So like if a main story quest takes you to a town or an area, when you get to that area, collect all the chests, do all the things within that area. So let's say there's a cave, bandit camp, collect some guys, whatever. Do all of that. Then do a side quest, and if that side quest takes you to another section of the map, do all that. Because what happens is, the way I did it was I was out and exploring everything, okay, and I was like picking up the flu points and going, oh, I could travel here, I could travel there, But then I was so confused on where I've been or haven't been that it was very overwhelming to try to find stuff. I think that's why I had a lot more hours. I think you could probably 100% in a lot less time. I would say like 70 hours, maybe 80 hours. But if you do it that way, it'll be a lot easier because, for instance, I went around and popped the balloons without looking for the landing pads. But if you pop the balloons and then land on the landing pad, you'll complete the landing pad as you pop the balloons. So if you're going to do something, make sure you complete that task. Okay, so land in a town, search all the buildings, go outside the town, do all the caves within the vicinity, and then go and complete the quest. That's the best way I can tell you. Otherwise, you're going to bounce back and forth and go, did I do this? I've been here. Did I get this? Did I get that? And that was more of a pain in the ass. I didn't look up anything. We had help. Two things. There was a couple of little caves that had like this puzzle in it. And it was the only puzzle I couldn't figure out. And one of the people in chat helped me with the puzzle, told me to do this. And I was like, it's the only thing I didn't try. Okay. And we got that. And then the second thing that someone told me was the black flags inside Hogwarts, okay, means you have a quest there. Okay. Means you have a relationship quest or a side quest there. So if it's a white flag, it means you're complete with that section. And if you have a black flag on there, it means you have quests in that section. So those are the tips I can give you. And I didn't know that until hour 92 of 93, when someone came in and was like, yeah, the black flag is where you have a quest. So I was looking everywhere for the goddamn thing. So that will do it for me this morning. I do appreciate you guys coming out and hanging out with us in this talk. If you guys just joining us now, in the very first 40 minutes of this, I give you my overall thoughts of the entire game, from the characters, the game, the design, the exploration, the combat, everything. You can go watch the beginning of that. I give you my overall thoughts of the entire game. I absolutely loved it. To give you the Cliff Notes version. We are doing a podcast tonight. I'll talk about it a little bit more tonight for people that didn't see this show this morning with Sarge. And we'll go over a lot more other news stories in the past week. And so I appreciate it very much. Make sure you hit that like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one. Do all the caves with the treasure chests count in the 100%? No, but you do find stuff in some of those caves that will go towards your field guide for exploration and whatnot. So, but not all the caves count towards the 100%. It's the stuff that you do as far as you might find a piece of furniture, or you might find a piece of or whatnot. Just do the field guide stuff. So the challenge stuff and the field guide stuff. If you go to the list of collections, you'll see. But that doesn't count towards the field guide. The field guide is just doing the 100% of the actual thing. Yeah, leaving the caves basically gets you money, gets you clothes to turn in for money or to wear, but it doesn't count towards the field guide stuff. All right, you guys have a good one. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.